Welcome to
In Response.
A legacy podcast.
I'm Philipp Klein.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
And we are talking about legacy.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
That seems to be the new running gag in this show.
Yeah.
So, Peter, what are you up to?
What I'm up to?
Yeah,
currently,
at the moment, currently?
Legacy related or magic related. I'm
so
playing
just
a little
in your
bit.
Life.
But in my life, I'm currently starving. I've just started, I think 2 weeks ago with the 8-16 diet. So I'm not allowed to drink beer now, so I'm at soda water.
But only because it's too late, right? Not because
it's
of
too
the
late.
diet. Yes.
I only eat from 12 to 8 p.m. But it's fine without breakfast going into the day.
I still hope that you have enough energy to talk about our interesting topics today, Peter.
Oh
Yeah,
my
at
God,
least
I
5
couldn't
minutes.
do this.
Yes. Okay. So let's quickly go over the topics that we will cover in this episode. I think we can start with probably a big change in legacy in general, which is the companion rules change that effectively took place the announcement was in 1st of June.
So yeah, that happened a while ago.
It happened a while ago, yeah. The rule, basically, I will read for you the new companion rule, which now says, once per game, anytime you could cast a sorcery, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your companion from your sideboard into your hand. And this is a special action, not an activated ability.
So no stifles are allowed.
And you can't respond to it.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, concerning legacy, I think it was a little bit of a letdown, in my opinion, because we had the Lurus ban when was it exactly?
I think 2 weeks earlier, if I remember.
2 weeks earlier, yeah. And now the companion rule changed as a whole, and we will now never get to see a legacy world with a potential Lurus. Maybe with the fixed companion rules, let's say.
Yeah, but they won't ever unban Lurus now. But I also don't get it, because now with this changed rule, I think Lurus and also Serda could be really interesting additions to the Legacy metagame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also seeing Lurus in the main deck of some decks would open up interesting deck choices, deck buildings. It would be interesting to see that guy A list with main deck Lurus to abuse the same Mishra's Bauble interaction, but just not in that extreme form from casting the companion from the sideboard.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have them back just for 1 or 2 weeks of testing. And I really hoped when they changed the mechanic that they unban or unsuspend, if you would call it in historic, these 2 cards and see what they can do. But I think they feared it too much, what they did to the format. I mean, I think that the Grixis Delver list or the Cheska Delver list would be fine now. Maybe a little bit too oppressive, but I think nothing compared to the Snowco era we had before the companions.
Yeah, and I think it is a little bit of a strange image that Wizard is, let's say, giving people by banning a card in Legacy, and then 2 weeks later changing the rule as a whole, it doesn't seem like they think things through all that much, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, they certainly don't follow through. Yeah, I also think it was really strange. I never thought they would change or errata the rules. Now they've banned the two companions in Legacy. I mean, I get it for modern and standard, and also Pioneer where they're still legal, but in the end, we still could have waited these 2 weeks for the new rule. If they just had announced, hey guys, we're changing the companion rule in 2 weeks, get ready, but we don't want to ban anything. Everybody would have been happy, or at least it would have put a lot of
Pressure?
Yeah, put a lot of pressure.
Not on the community or on the on the people. Yeah, okay, that's what I mean.
The thing I don't get is they said in the first announcement when they banned Lurus and Serda that they are looking at the companion rules specific if they have to change something about it. But I think if you make an announcement 1 week later, you have enough data to prove that the companion mechanic as a whole is the problem and not. I mean, we stated in our first episode that in our second episode that we think that the most problematic companions are the one that generate value, and I stay at this statement. But I think you have enough data at the first announcement that you can make the changes 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah. I think this is just a proof or let's say a confession from Wizards that they don't plan things all that long before they really make decisions, I would say. However, I would suggest talking about what this mechanics change has an impact for the Legacy metagame.
So I think most of the companions are now obsolete. The deck building restrictions are too harsh for the free mana tax, and now that they can be interacted with discard. So yeah, most of them are unplayable now. Just the ones that don't care about the text, like Yorion, are still getting played. Everything else is just almost non-existent. Maybe also Kahira for anything that doesn't place creatures, I think, like Storm or End or Tess.
But I don't think they want to give away that they are not playing creatures on the play for such low value.
Because maybe for
game 2 or 3.
Yeah, maybe not for certainly not for game 1, but maybe for game 2 or 3, when it could be relevant. It's like game 1 you see they're on End, on Storm, and they don't reveal a companion, and game 2 they reveal the companion, and you've bought out all your removal.
Yeah, I definitely see this case.
And you can still play them on turn 1 with 2 Lades, or with Lade and Dark Ritual.
No, I don't think you want to go all in on Kahira. I think you want to play, you get it into hand on turn 2, and then play it on turn 3, something like that. But the problem now is you have to do it on sorcery speed to get it into your hand, and with that if you maybe can go off on turn 3, but they play something like, I don't know, a Chalice or any other interaction piece that you could have bounced, maybe end of their turn, you now don't have the mana to do that.
I basically agree with with what you're saying, but maybe there could be made a point about it's still a consistent 8th card. And the question is, do you want to trade off your 15th Cyber card for, let's say, this consistent threat? Or, I don't know. It's basically all threats except for Yorion now, I think. Because some other companions are not really worth it to build around or are too restrictive. Kahira, or is it Kahira? Yeah, I think
it's Kahira.
Yeah. In certain decks like control decks or Storm, it is basically still a free card concerning its restrictions.
The problem in Legacy with Kahira in control decks is that you are either using Icefang Quartal or Uro, and with that you can't play the card.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's only playable in Storm variants like Ent or Tess. And yeah, if you want to play it, you feel free to. I think I've seen a few lists online that played it, but I'm not sure if it was before the announcement or after the announcement.
I still think even when you have a bear as a companion, it would be better than having no companion.
Yeah.
Even if you are sacrificing the 15 Cyber card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The 15 Cyber slot is valuable for sure, but having just a 2-mana 2/2 companion from your sideboard when you need it is just so good. The 8th card is simply so good, in my opinion. I don't think that they really thought this through, and I think it's very undervalued. Very undervalued.
So do you think that over the long term, basically all the best decks are still companion decks? Without looking at Yorion now all that much, because I think we can agree that Yorion is still, let's say, a problem of its own kind, let's say.
No, it depends. It truly depends on the restrictions on the deck, because if the restrictions too hard on the deck, then there's a threshold where it doesn't make any sense anymore to play the companion. But if there would be a companion that says your deck has to have 60 cards, and it's just 2-mana 2/2, then this companion would always be better than the 15 sideboard card.
I definitely agree on the point. If the restriction would say play 60 cards in your main deck and you get a 2 colorless bear in your sideboard, I think you have to play it.
Okay.
With even with the restrictions on the rule. But I think with the statements from Rosewater that we aren't getting any new companions, I think a few of these restrictions are too hard to play in Legacy. Like the Spider, I think you can't play only odd mana costs. Garuda was playable. Obosh, Garuda was a really, really good deck, and it, I think, was first and second in the 1.5k from...
In the Lotus Box event.
Yeah, in the Lotus Box event, it was first and second. But with the new rule that you have to have it in your hand, and now you need Lead, Soul Land, and Lotus Petal to cast it.
And then it still can be countered, so the difference between 6 mana and 9 mana is...
insane.
Insane. It's just like 1 mana and 2 mana. The difference is just so huge.
It's really, really huge. And the problematic with Garuda was that you were consistently getting it on turn 1, because you could mull down to worst case 2 cards and win on turn 1. I think Garuda is maybe fringe playable in various Reanimator shells, but that's all now for that card, and the other companions are not really seen.
Okay.
I think, other than Yorion.
So quick question. for you guys. What do you think is the best deck now?
Phew.
I think we have a trifecta
A trifecta,
of Snowco,
yeah.
then any fast combo like Tess or Depths or End or any graveyard shenanigans, and something like Delver that preys on them.
Yeah, I think so too. But we have some chalice decks too. Even I think that the latest 2 challenges were won by Mono Blue.
It's, Bomberman.
How's it called?
Is it...
No, it's not Bomberman. It's Serta Bomberman on MTG Goldfish, but it's just
Urza Echoes.
The Echo deck, the Mono Blue Echo deck.
Yes, with Urza, Emry, Karn, Asset, yes.
Yeah, but I think this deck is just so good because of Narset.
Yeah.
Because everybody's drawing at the cards at the moment.
This combination is just outrageously good, yeah.
And we even saw some good spikes now with the World Gotcha Dragon combo. These guys were on the podcast Leaving a Legacy. And yeah, they're doing great work. And it's just the 4-color Snow Shell with a built-in combo. Really similarly to my 4-color Painter list we will be talking about later today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Why not just talk about this? So we have a 4-color Painter list. As a new brew, let's say, to combat the new Legacy metagame. Freshly from this new announcement. So
it's not really a new list. I was playing it before the companions.
Yeah.
But then Corona came.
So you just cut the companion and said that's it.
No, I wasn't playing it in the companion era. I tried something different when I had Lurus around. Then I was trying something with Fioran, but it haven't felt great, I would say. And it was too much money for MTG Online with my Mana Traders account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the list then.
Okay, I will go over the creatures I'm playing in the main deck. It's 3 Goblin Engineer, 3 Painter Servant, and 2 Uro Titans of Nature's Wrath. So it's just like the core of a normal 4-color Snow deck, but in the slots of the Icewind Quartal, I have now the Engineers and the Painters, and less Uros. The Planeswalker suite is 2 Oko, 1 Teferi Time Reveler, 2 Khan the Great Creator. So I just moved the Khans as additional win conditions in the Planeswalker spot.
Yeah, in the Painter's deck, Khan is a very good card.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
Khan is a 1-card combo because you get it down, you get the first piece, the next turn you get the second piece, and normally you have enough mana to combo on the second turn.
Yeah, and in some cases you just go Khan into Lattice and that's it.
Yeah, that's another reason too. Then for Brainstorm, for Ponder, like every deck, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Whale, because you play Painter and they're good if a lot of blue is running around. 3 Swords to Parauches as removal, and 4 Force of Will and 2 Terminus as a mass removal spell of choice. And I think it is necessary to combat the go white decks. Then for Arcom's Astrolab, 2 Grindstone, because I think 3 are not necessary, and I felt that
Karn,
and I have Karn to get the third one from the sideboard. The mana base is mostly similarly, but I play 1 Academy Runes to get back the combo pieces if they get Abrupt Decay or something like that. Then sideboard a small wish board with 1 Engineered Explosives, 2 Tormod Script to board in if I'm playing against Graveyard, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Grindstone, 1 Painter Servant, and 1 Lattice, so that you have the win condition with Khan. Then I'm playing 2 additional Pyroblasts, a 3rd Veil of Summer in the sideboard, a split 1 Abrade and 1 Return to Nature. then 1 intuition and 1 divine reclamation to combat the blue soup decks. Because if you're intuition for Oko Uro and divine reclamation, it's insane. If you're intuition for Painter, Grindstone, divine reclamation, it's good too. And the one spot I'm trying out currently is Clothis, God of Destiny, the new card from Theros.
I really like this card. I thought about it, and I did play it even in Rock Delver in the set, but also to just test it out. I think if it sticks, it really is a win con that is hard to deal with, I would say.
Yeah, the problem is you don't really have exile removal for enchantments.
Yeah.
Because this creature will never get the creature in my deck.
Yeah, and because everyone plays Oko and relies on the +1 from Oko, on the Elk King.
Mm-hmm. And
this one avoids it completely.
Yeah.
And wins the game.
I mean, it's not
over multiple turns.
It's a little bit slow.
Yeah, it's not the greatest graveyard hate, or the greatest clock, but it just accumulates over time and it puts into a winning position. It's like a Sylvan Library, but not with the card draw, just with the resources you get.
Yeah, it's a 4-point life swing each turn.
Yeah, basically. At one point they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And they can't. Maybe if you play something like Celestial Purge or so.
Yeah, Celestial Purge is, I think, the literally only card. I mean, the only playable card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see there is, how's it called, the 3-mana sorcery that votes.
Council's Judgment?
Council's Judgment is another one. But I haven't seen those cards nowadays. I think they're played only as a one of them in Death in Texas or something like that.
At the maximum, at 2 of in the sideboard, I think, from Death in Texas.
Two Council's Judgment in the list that went 6-2 in the Legacy Challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, 2. These are the only cards.
Yeah, if it's very fringe, then you could probably also expect unexpectedly absent. If you run into a Miracles list.
Yeah, I was playing these cards in, I don't know which deck it was. I think it was a Standstill deck 1 or 2 years ago. I was playing it. But yeah, this could deal with it too.
I still like it very much. Also Ethergust.
Ethergust is now played, yeah. Submerge doesn't do it.
I really like Ethergust, I gotta say. I think it should be played or just tried out in Legacy to combat the Okos, the Clothis, the Uros.
Yeah, I think it will come.
Yeah, I also think it will catch on if the Snowco and generally the Oko Uro shell will reign supreme. Then something like that will certainly be played.
If we get a metagame share of 20% Oko Uro or more, it will definitely be in the sideboards.
But yeah, I really like your list. It's like the old Splinter Twin lists where you play the control game and then just win from nowhere, or you always threaten with the combo and they have to spend resources on it and can't really play that aggressive, because if they do, then you just outgrind them with Euro or with Oko. And yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool list, and I think a playstyle that fits me. I think one thing I do wrong is that sometimes I play a little bit over aggressive with my protection spells, but the one thing that is really, really good in these kind of decks, I'm not really relying on the Painter or on the Grindstone. And some opponents just force the Painter or the Grindstone and then they are way behind, because next turn I get the Oko, the turn after I get the Uro, then I get another Goblin Engineer. With the Engineer, will loot my astrolabes and draw a card each turn, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah, looping astrolabes. So at least the Engineer makes a very good Ice Cream Quartal impression.
Yeah, definitely. But what I also like about this list is that you can, if you have a grindy opponent, side out some pieces of the combo, and just go for a value and grindy game.
What I really like against blue soup decks is I go down to 1 Painter, 1 Grindstone.
Yeah.
I bought out the 2 Terminus and I think 2 Force of Will. Then I get 1 Intuition, 1 Clovis, 1 Divine Reclamation, 2 additional Pyroblast, 1 Whale, and then I think, maybe I think the Engineered Explosives is another card I bought in.
Also, the Academy Ruins is very spicy.
Yeah, Academy Ruins is something you have to deal with. And one thing I like is that I can play Mystic Sanctuary in my Artifact combo deck.
That's really nice, yeah.
And the mana base is 7 basics, Wasteland bye-bye. Like every other Snowco shell. It's pretty similar to the World Gotcha Combo Dragons list.
More or less, yeah. I think we will definitely link your list in the show notes so that listeners can have a look at your list.
And maybe play it.
Maybe play it, yeah.
And refine it.
Refine it.
If something that's wrong. It's always, the more people are working on a deck, the faster it gets better.
Yeah.
So it's always great to have additional feedback, yeah.
Speaking about fast, as you mentioned, Philipp, you have also an interesting brew that we can talk about now. Just give a little bit explanation about this deck, I would say. How's it called?
Actually, I played, I think, about 3 to 4 months now. I started with this deck before the Corona pandemic, and it's basically a port from the vintage Hollowine list. And to get this brew going, we need to put a third color in it, and this is red. So we're looking at Rug Hollowine, which abuses the synergy between Vengevine and Hollowine to get fast for 4s onto the battlefield. And going through the list, we have 29 creatures, and a lot of them aren't very often seen in Legacy. So we have 4 Basking Root Dwellers, 4 Tinderwall, 4 Bazaar Trade Mage, 3 Flamewake Phoenix, 4 Vengevines, 4 Hollowone, 2 Ox of Agonas, and 4 Street Wraith. For the Root Dwellers, you need them for triggering Vengevine, and also to get some pressure going if you have nothing else. The Tinder walls look very strange at the first sight, but actually they are really great for ramping.
Triggering Vengevines, basically.
Also triggering Vengevines, yeah, for sure. And to enable a turn 2 Trade Mage or a turn 2 Flamewake Phoenix, the Tinder walls are also very great. The Trade Mages are the poor man's legacy choice of a Bazaar of Baghdad. So they basically read, for 2 and a blue, it's a 3/4 flyer, which enters the battlefield and you draw 2 cards and discard 3 cards. So it's basically card disadvantage. But when you discard 3 cards, then all your hollow ones will cost 0 to play. So if you happen to have 3 cards in hand, or 4 cards in hand, play the Trade Mage, draw 2, and have two hollow ones, you discard the 3 and cast the 2 hollow ones for free, triggering Vengevines on the discard, and also discarding any Root Wallers you probably discarded into excellent casting with Madness. So you really can flood the board with just a turn 2 Trade Mage. When you have a really, really god hand, you can put 28 power on board turn 1. But this is Magical Christmas Land, so...
Really? That's impressive.
Yeah, it's Magical Christmas Land because you need a lot of Vengevines, a lot of follow ones. But in theory, it's possible. Another slot which looks a little bit strange is the Flamewake Phoenix. We put them in because I needed another discard payoff, and the Vengevines and the Hollow Ones both trigger the Flamewake Phoenix trigger, because the trigger says if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, then you may pay red and put the Flamewake Phoenix from your graveyard into the battlefield. And it's a 2/2 flyer, which has to attack every turn. It's nice. It's okay-ish if it's free, so...
Yeah, it's just another payoff that you can discard to looting, I guess, get back and apply more pressure to the opponent.
Yeah, it's also in the right colors to play it with Tinderwall. So you can go turn 1 looting, into turn 2, into discarding 2 Vengevines, into turn 2 Tinderwall, sacrifice, cast Flamewake Phoenix, trigger both Vengevines. And swing for 10 on turn 2. And that's not really a god hand, that's very...
basic.
Very often, but yeah, it's very basic actually. Then the Hollow Ones and the Vengevine are pretty self-explanatory in this deck. And then you've got the 2 Ox of Agonas, which were previously 2 Lightning Bolts. But the Lightning Bolts were often stuck in the hand, or I had to discard them when I didn't really want it. I just want to shoot them in the face. But you need the cards in hand to discard it to get the Hollow One cost reduction. So I changed them to the Oxes again, which I played on the first iteration of the deck also. But I tried to work this deck around a lot. And so they were gone for a little bit, and now they're back. And actually, with the addition of Street Rave, the Oxes are better now. So I've put them back in.
You can escape them faster. Yeah.
Yeah. Also the Oxes are refueling your hand when you're in a little bit of grindier game, or when you just draw the false part of your deck, which can happen if you don't play Brainstorm and Ponder. Then for the spells, we've got 4 Careful Study, and for Faithless Looting, you basically want all the loot spells you can get. I also thought about playing Breakthrough, but this deserves more testing. And then you've got 4 Once Upon a Time, which is basically your green Ponder. The first one is great, and every other Once Upon a Time is perfect discard fodder for the Trade Mages and the Lootings.
Yeah, or in top deck situations, it's just a good card to get.
Yeah, when in top deck situation and you can hardcast the Ox or something. It's actually good and kind of great, but most of the time they're just you play the first and then you discard the rest. And then for the lands, we've got 2 basics, 1 island and 1 mountain, and 1 misty rainforest, 4 scalding tarn, 4 wooded foothills for the fetchlands, 2 tiger, 2 tropical island, and 2 volcanic island for the duels. And for a fast start, you also have 2 ancient tombs to just be a little bit faster and get an increased chance of a turn 2 trade mage happening, because that's probably the best thing you can do on turn 2 to cast the trade mage.
Yeah, it's just a good card for this type of deck, and it's just a good threat on its own with a great stat line with a 3/4 flying. It's amazing.
It blocks Delver all day, and in the face of a ley line, it's just go ahead, play your ley lines, play all your graveyard hates. I just go in gems, Serendib reads.
Yeah, and then you go trade match into Hollow One, and yeah.
or just trade mage into discarding 3 Basking Root Wallers, which don't get host by graveyard hate. So because you discard them into exile, and then they get cast from there, so they never touch the graveyard.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And now we're going to the sideboard. We're playing 2 Pyroblast, 1 Whale of Summer, 1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Brazen Borrower, 2 Force of Vigor, 4 Laden of the Void, 2 Scabclam Berserker, and 2 Mindbreak Trap. The Scabclam Berserker are really, really great versus combo like Entotas, and also the Mindbreak Trap. You need it versus Veil of Summer, and most of the time they won't see it coming because you're a blue deck and they expect something like Force of Will after sideboarding or Force of Negation.
Yeah, Flusterstorm, yeah.
Or Flusterstorm, yeah. And most of the time they don't expect the trap. And the Scabclam Berserker synergizes well with the Vengevine plan, while also putting a very good iteration of Eidolon
Of the Great Travel
onto the battlefield. Yeah.
This card is amazing. When I first started with Magic, this card was in literally every red deck I played. After I got back into it, after I saw the card, because it's way too good. And even against control or something like that. I mean, it's not the plan A you want to do, so you don't have the plan
No,
to
it's
it.
not the plan A, but if you expect a lot of graveyard hate or simply just, I don't know, Leo Walls or Narset, you can just put this in off the boarding and go to town. All the cantrips do damage them now, and
Yeah, and you can play it turn 2 of a Thunderball, which is amazing.
yeah,
And you even
really the Tinderwall ramp is what makes this card really tick. If you play it fairly on turn 3, it's very underwhelming. But on turn 2, the damage adds up fast.
if you play turn 1 Faithless Looting, discard, I don't know, Vengevine, Rootwaller, and turn 2 you go Tinderwall, Scabclam Berserker, it's trigger, Vengevine. It's amazing.
Yeah, then you look at, I think, 4 damage turn. No. 4 damage from the Vengevine for 5, for 2, for 7. Then there are 13, and even if they have the turn, when you're on the play, even if they have the turn 2 kill, it's very hard for them to fight through the berserker triggers.
They have to play, I think, 6 spells prior to dealing with it, so they can't storm into it. They have to remove the Scapclan Berserker before doing something. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, then the 2 Pyroblasts are for sure versus the Oko matchups. You just need to kill it.
Yeah, I think you need it against something like Show and Tell too.
Yeah, for Show and Tell you just Pyroblast every cantrip.
Yeah. They have to go off turn 4 or 5, and then you should be faster. Hopefully.
And Leyline of the Void is also very self-explanatory versus the graveyard decks. The one thing I'm not sure is actually Force of Vigor, if it shouldn't be Return to Nature or Wild.
Yeah, I mean, Force of Vigor is really good, but I think there are the Chalice decks are not really here nowadays. I've seen less of them. If the Chalice decks will rise, you need the to remove more.
Then you need for sure the Force of Vigor.
Yeah.
But I think I will change it to Wild because they got cycling.
Yeah, these are good.
And even if it's dead, I can cycle it and probably draw a hollow one which I can cast for less mana then, yeah?
Yeah, it's the little things that matter nowadays. And cycling is a really big thing.
But yeah, this deck is really fun. It's very off the wall. Nobody expects it. So you've got brewer's advantage.
Yeah.
And you just eat the snow or the mid-range piles alive with a decent draw. I mean, yeah, if you multi Oblivion, then no deck can win. But with a decent draw, almost no control or mid-range deck stands a chance because you look at 10 to 12 damage turn 2 and leave from turn 3. Sometimes even 8 damage turn 1 and 20 turn 2. So you're definitely very fast, but because you don't play Pond and Brainstorm, you lack a little bit of consistency.
Yeah, and the blue decks are a little bit better in top decking than you. But one thing you have is the 4 Faithless Looting in the graveyard are really, really good. You have effective 12 looting spells, so this is great. And yeah, I think this is a really, really cool deck, innovative deck. You can play, you gain the brewer's advantage. And yeah, it's something that you personally like to play, and that shows your play style.
That's the greatest reason, actually.
And who knows, maybe decks like that, maybe they only need just 1 or 2 new strong additions to make them suddenly broken.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I gotta say, this deck is not... I'm not the inventor. I'm just the brewer who puts it... how do I say it? Who brings it forward, who tries to bring it forward. Because the first iteration of this deck, the first list I got from this deck was from Nate from the Eternal Turtles podcast. I reached out for him and I DM'd him on Twitter, and he got me the list. And I tried to play with the numbers, try to refine it a little bit, and then I brewed with a friend of mine. With Chris, we talked in the Discord, and we got through basically he said, why don't you take a look at Modern Hollow One and get some inspiration from there? And that's what we did. We put in the Street Raves, we put in the Flamewake Phoenix, And also we put in the Once Upon a Time and cut a lot of grindy and mid-rangey cards for even more explosiveness and more consistency in our draws. And yeah, that's the list we got now.
Very good. Very good. I think normally we would have talked about another thing for this episode, but since we are basically running out of time, I think we have to make it to an end today.
And so I hope you have enjoyed this episode number 3 of our podcast. If you want to reach out for us, you can find us on Twitter @response_legacy. You can find me on Twitter @PhinekMTG, PHINEKMTG. And you can find my co-hosts.
Yeah, for me it's Twitter @FlyingDelver.
And for me is @UnicornLord, but the O in the Lord is a 0. So yeah,
This will never get old.
So this was our 3rd episode. It's the first one we did remotely. And yeah, thanks for listening. And in response, the end.